In this very useful tutorial, we'll see how to rotate a servo motor on a button press. As I press on the button, you will see that it's moving both left and right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. To work on this tutorial, definitely you need a servo motor, our Arduino board, and then we need a breadboard. And on breadboard, actually, I have this press button and this resistor. Now make sure that the connection for this press button is like this. So you have to hold it like this and put it across the board. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now this is done. Now in this case, in general, I'm going to use this as a power source. Okay, and this is going to connect with this ground pin. But in generally, because this is a press button, we don't know the current state of these two pins over here. Now we want to force them to be a certain state at the beginning. Okay, so this is where this register comes in. So you can use 10K ohm register, that could help you. All right, so now make sure that the left leg of this press button connected with this leg of this register. Okay, otherwise it's not going to work. Right, okay, so that's the first thing. Now with this, we'll be able to connect it with our ground pin. Now to be able to do that, I'm going to take a jumper wire over here, and then I'm going to connect it over here with a ground pin. But now, because we'll have a lot more ground connections, so for now I'm going to put it here on the ground rail. Okay, so I'll have a total connection to the ground later on from our Arduino ground pin. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. All right, so that's the first thing. And the second thing that we want to do over here with this, I'm taking another jumper wire, and then I'm going to take another jumper wire, this one over here, and I'm going to put it down on next to this right leg, and then give it a power supply. Now I'm going to give it a power supply. And how much power supply? I'm going to give it voltage 5. But now first I'm going to connect this with our power rail, positive power rail. Okay, now I'm going to take another jumper wire, and this jumper wire I'm going to connect it from this register's leg and then connect it with Arduino pin 7. Now the next thing we want to do, so since this is our negative power rail, so this should connect with our ground pin on Arduino. So I'm going to put it here and then connect with this ground pin. Okay, so now with this, we're almost done with this press button and the circuit connection. Now what's going to happen in general, if I'm going to go ahead and click on this, so it'll connect to, it'll get power, and over here this port 7 or pin 7 actually will get power as well. By default right now, because of this setup, this leg on the left side is low, which means there is no power. When I click on this, power would be supplied, and then pin 7 would light up, which means that it will have power, and we can read that state or the connection, and then we'll use that in our code. Now the next step is all about our servo motor. So make sure that you have a servo motor. Now we're going to go ahead with our servo. Now at the top over here, I have this brown cable. So with this, I'm going to connect with our green jumper wire so that I can connect it to a negative power rail. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and put it here so that you can see, okay, right here. So this is our negative power rail. So all the negative connections are already connected, and then I'm going to give it some power. Now power voltage 5, so I'm going to use this middle one over here, as you can see, the middle one, which should be the red one, and connect it with our positive power rail over here so that it gets voltage 5. And then the last one, now the last one would be actually should get signal from Arduino to rotate the motor. Let's go ahead and connect it over here. And now this one, actually, I'm going to go ahead and connect it with Arduino pin 9 over here. Okay, so with this, the basic connection is done. So the last thing we need to do, we need to apply or provide power to this positive power rail. So I'm going to push down a pin over here, and then I'm going to give it voltage 5 from here. And as I did that, I'm going to put it here, And at the same time, make sure that your Arduino board is connected with the power source, basically from computer. And now as I'm here, I'm going to press on this button, and I see that it's already rotating as I press on the button. But of course, this connection, they have to be rigid and strong, otherwise this may act up, okay? In general, if this register is not connecting well or connected well, you may see weird behavior. So let's go ahead and check this. Okay, right. So now we are going to go ahead and look at the code. So here is our code, and make sure that at the top you have servo.h library, and then we have pin connection. We created a variable for connecting with servo, and then we created another variable that should connect with our press button. Anyway, we want to save the state each time we press on the button, like this button over here. And then the default state of servo is false, which means that actually it's not going to rotate, or 0 degree, okay? Right, now this is the basic setup. Now over here we have used serial.begin, and baud rate is 9600. The reason is because we want to print some information on the serial monitor, but it's not important. And then we connect our servo with the pin, so which means that our servo is now connected with pin 9 on Arduino, okay? And then at the same time we say that this one, pin 7 is going to work as input, which means that as I press on the button, pin 7 over here is going to be an input connection, okay? Which means that it will receive input. Receive what? Receive voltage high or high voltage, okay? This is what we'll see. Now we're going to read the initial state, but now we use digital read to read the initial state of pin 7, which is this one over here. But now you have to remember that by default it should be low, okay? Low also means false, okay? So this is a bool. For example, eventually we are going to use it bool. Bool means true or false, okay? So whenever you read low, L-O-W, then it should be bool, okay? Anyway, so we start at angle 0, as you can see over here, and this is just a log, okay? All right, now this goes in a loop. So actually the whole loop is running right now. We don't have any log outside the loop, so that's why they're not getting printed. So let's go ahead and see over here. If you press on the button, so you'll see that there is log. Okay, and how does it work? Anyway, so very first time when the loop runs, even before you press on this button, it reads the state of this pin 7. So over here this is pin 7, and definitely this is false, okay? This is false. Pin 7 is false. Okay, now here current button state, okay? Now current button state also comes from here, okay? Remember, low button state, previously we already read it during this setup, but now when we go into the loop, in the loop itself over here we read again, but in this case we assign this value to current button state. So which in this case would be low as well, okay? L-O-W, low. So which means that this condition is not met. This condition is not true. So we just simply either fall back to this one or this one, continue like this, okay? Now, very first time when this loop runs, this is also false, this is also false, okay? So only thing happens is it's getting this current state. What's the current state? Current state is coming from here, so which is low. So this is low, which means that this is low. But this is, once again, low. But here we say the condition is high, which means this is never true. It is only true when you press this button. Remember, when you press this button, what's going to happen? It's going to read the state. When you press the button, the state is high, so it becomes high over here. And earlier we know that low button state is low, okay? The last button state is low, so that's why we get inside this condition. And here we have toggle servo, okay? Within toggle servo, whatever was it early, remember at the beginning it was false, so now we convert it to true because we are doing a negation. If it is true, we rotate 90 degrees. So as I'm actually pressing, as I press, as you see that it works. But now once again, if this state, if your jumper wires are not connected well, it's gonna act up. So make sure that your jumper wires are connected well, okay? So if they're loosened, it rotates crazily, or it loses its states and it goes crazy. So each time we rotate, make sure that your connections are stable over here, okay? Otherwise it's not going to work. But anyway, so each time it's true, which means that when we press, then it rotates 90 degrees. If it is false, then it rotates 0 degree, which means it goes back to, this motor goes back to its earlier position. Okay, so regardless, to rotate this motor clockwise or anti-clockwise, only this condition has to be true. All right, okay, anyway, so if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below. Thank you.